Is the audio and video, are the audio and video working, y'all? Yeet. Okay, I think that's a yes. Okay, I'm just going to post in the Discord and tweet that the stream is happening, which I already had queued up, so we are all good. Okay, hello. So I'm going to answer Patreon questions first, and then I'll get to some chat questions. If you do a super chat, I'll probably be more likely to see it because it'll be on screen for longer, but I'll also just try to answer questions as they come up in the chat. So the reason that, thank you, August Wilson. The reason that I'm doing a second stream is because if you were in my previous stream, you know that it kind of had to be cut short because I had agreed to go to a concert with my sister and I had less time than I thought. It was a further drive than I had initially predicted, so we had to leave early, so the stream had to end early. And I said in that stream, I promise I will do another one. It would have been earlier, but first my flight back to university was completely canceled for a day, so I had to spend another day at home. Then I had class all week. Then I was in a debate tournament in Newfoundland this past weekend, which was very, very fun. And now I am here. So that was a time. Oh, someone asked what was the band. It was a small Canadian band called I Am the Mountain. I had never heard their music before I went, but they were a really great band. So, I mean, I would recommend people check them out. It was like kind of like campfire folk. It was a good time. So on to some Patreon questions. I'll just take them in order. Yeah, it was a really good concert. Okay. Very first comment is from Jacob Bank, who asks, if you could only choose one simple superpower like flight, strength, speed, single type elemental projection, hyper awareness, etc., what would you choose? If given the choice of a more complex power set, i.e. Spider-Man, Green Lantern, Superman, Thor, etc. So if I had to choose a simple superpower, so I was thinking about this. The first thing I was thinking was like shape-shifting, because in a superhero context, that would be exceptionally cool. Plus, like, if I wanted pink hair, I could just have pink hair and I wouldn't have to sit in the salon for 6 hours while they strip the dye from my previous color and then bleach it and then do another round of bleaching because it took too long and my scalp was burning and then they put the dye on. Oh, hi, Angie. I'm going to mod you because you're cool. There we go. Hi, Angie. So that, yeah. Shape-shifting, I think, would be very cool. If I could be a dragon, I could just be a dragon. But then I was thinking of practical day-to-day uses, and that's where I was thinking of teleportation, simply because it would just be very convenient in day-to-day life to like not have to walk outside in the winter, which is very appreciated. So I think I'm going to have to go with teleportation because I live in Canada and it's cold here and I hate going outside. Even just being able to teleport to my car would be exceptionally convenient. And then it was, what would you choose if given the choice of a more complex power set? So I was yes, no, God, Proful beat me to it. I was going to say I would choose the ability to manipulate probability if we were doing like complex powers, because nobody really thinks of it. But if you can manipulate probability, even like just a little bit, you can pretty much have anything happen in your life. You're like, oh, I'm going to manipulate the probability that that person's going to step on a rock and trip and fall because they're a jerk and I don't like them. Or like the probability that if I put my numbers into this lottery thing, Nagito Komaida, yeah, same. You would win the lottery. There's just a lot of very convenient things you could do with like yeah, like domino, except like rather than just being lucky and avoiding danger in your day-to-day life, you could also apply it to like other events, you know. Is it probably, I haven't actually read any of the comics with Scarlet Witch. I've only seen her in the movie where she's just kind of like waves her figures around and people go into trances. I don't actually know about the comics, but you know, that seems reasonable. Next question is from Daniel Lopez, who asks, what is your overall opinion on Ben 10? Which Ben 10 series have you seen / are a fan of? If you could be any Ben 10 alien, who would you be? So I never actually watched Ben 10 when I was younger. I always saw the commercials for it while I was watching other shows and thought that was a very cool kind of concept, but I never saw it. But because Daniel Lopez asked that question, I went to the Ben 10 Wikipedia page and read a list of all of the Ben 10 aliens so that I could answer this question even though I haven't seen the show. And I decided that if I could be any alien, I would be Upgrade, because going by this Wikipedia article, Upgrade has the ability to like upgrade, merge with, and change technology in like unique ways, which I think, as somebody who spends an exceptional portion of their life on the internet, would be very cool if I could just go into my computer and have its capacity instantly improved without having to pay for it. Hi, Peter Coffin. I think that would be a very, very cool thing to be able to do. So that's why I choose Upgrade, even though I have not seen the show. I hope that Upgrade is a good boy, so that I'm not, or girl, I have no idea, a good alien, because otherwise I might have chosen something problematic. Jacob Bank again asks, can we ever get a live stream or Patreon exclusive unlisted video that is a dramatic reading of your Wicked fan fiction? Yes, this is the famed Wicked fan fiction that I mentioned in my previous stream. I will settle for a link to read it or the site you've published them on. I will deep dive if I have to. It was published on fanfiction.net, Jacob. This Wicked fanfiction was very exciting because I was 12 when I wrote it, and there was some drama surrounding the fanfiction because another writer in the Wicked section of fanfiction.net thought that I had copied their idea for the story, because they were both about, oh my God, Fiyero and Elphaba are hanging out, faking, they fake their deaths, whatever. In both stories, they find out that there's a plot to assassinate Glinda, so that means that they both have to come back and save her life. So they had that in common, not much else besides that. But so this person put this really, really long comment on my fanfiction page about how I stole their story and how all of their friends were going to report me. All their friends commented too, and that both their parents were English teachers and they can spot plagiarism from a mile away. It was very dramatic. But I messaged them and I was like, hey, that's not what happened. I've never read your story. And it was resolved, but it was very spicy for like one of the first fan fictions anyone had ever posted. Oh, I see in the chat. Oh, hey, Joel is here. I'm gonna make you a mod. Hey, Joel. So I can read like a passage from it. I'm not going to sit here and read the entire thing for people because literally nobody wants to listen to that, but I'll give you like a paragraph. Okay. No one in the castle was expecting what was to come. They all had their minds on something else. Elphaba was rushing around the castle looking for Fiyero, with Glinda trailing not far behind. Dorothy was simply thinking. None of them could have anticipated the events that were about to happen. Yarrow, where are you? Called Elphaba. Yarrow. Glinda ran behind Elphaba. Elfie, he's not here. Maybe he's just outside. That would be less confusifying than running around your castle aimlessly, suggested Glinda. Elphaba agreed. She was willing to do anything. Elphaba just hated it when Fiyero went missing. She pushed her silky black hair behind her green ear and swallowed nervously as she pulled the door open. Fauna, that's really mean, and also I'm gonna make you a mod. Yeah, it's a very spicy story. I maybe will put the link to it in the Patreon chat or something. Someone asked me, do you think Jenny Nicholson is secretly left? She's not secretly leftist. It's not a secret. Garrett Figueroa asks, is it Sarah Z or Sarah Z? It's Sarah Z because I'm Canadian, so we say Z instead of Z. That being said, there are two people like on BreadTube that have the same name as me. There's me, and then there's another channel, someone whose name is also Sarah Z, whose channel name is Peter Stop, whose channel name is Let's Talk About Stuff. So the kind of original conclusion was like, she's going to be Sarah Z and I'm going to be Sarah Z. But the problem with that is that her last name is Zedig, which abbreviates to Z, but it's like spelt Z-E-D. So like we're kind of both Sarah Z, but she's also Sarah Z. It's a very complicated situation, but her channel is great. I would definitely recommend it. So if you want to check out another person with my name who is very cool, or maybe I have her name, someone who I share the same name with, just check out Let's Talk About Stuff. Hi, Chibi Spidey. Yes, I am, by rights. Let's see. Oryo Ohagi asks, oh, no, sorry, I skipped a question. Jacob Bank asks, what would you say is your favorite piece of animated media, excluding Avatar, which, that's a good call because I would have said Avatar. If this is too hard to narrow down, either within the past year or two or top 5 to 10 of all time for simplicity would also be good. In terms, oh, Caleb says, say trans rights. Trans rights. So in terms of recent stuff that I've seen, I would have to say Kimi no Nawa is really, really good. I watched it. It destroyed me emotionally. I watched it a little bit later than I maybe should have, but it was really, really excellent. The animation was beautiful. The story was wonderful. It's amazing. In terms of like Western animation, okay, so people know I like Steven Universe, but when I say I like Steven Universe, I like it in chunks of it because there are some really like amazing, beautiful episodes, but like there are kind of filler moments that slow it down, and I think that's fair. So in terms of like looking at an animated work that I think kind of on the whole, like the full picture of it is something amazing, I would have to say Gravity Falls. I know I criticized it in my video, but I really do love that show. It's an amazing story. It ended right when it had to. Oh my God, like that show's old now. I'm glad it ended when it did because it had like a really great story and it just knew when it needed to end. It didn't go on and on and on, but I really appreciate Gravity Falls for that. Back to Oryo Ohagi asking your overall opinion on anime. I mean, it's hard to say what my opinion on anime as a whole is because I kind of feel like that's kind of like asking someone, how do you feel about movies? It is a very variable genre. It's not even really a genre. It's just a medium. It just refers to like animated movies or shows from Japan. So it isn't even a genre, but it's very variable. So it's hard to give like my clear opinion on all anime. That being said, I think there's a lot of cool things you can do with anime, like as a medium. I think there are unfortunate tropes in some recent anime that I really don't like. For example, the kind of increasing prevalence of moe stuff with a sexual lens to it. I don't like that at all. But I think kind of as a medium, there's a lot of good potential there and it's quite cool. Okay. Juve asks, so what's a narrative trope you really, really, really hate? And on the other hand, what's a trope that you genuinely like despite the fact that it's played out or unpopular? Okay, trope I really hate. In children's movies, I find this often comes up. It comes up in other forms as well, but I've particularly seen it in children's movies. So it's the one where a character, it's usually the main character, has to do something bad or lie to the other characters for some kind of justifiable reason. Like maybe they're lying about their identity or they're pretending to do something, or like Over the Hedge where he was stealing food. Joel, if you're still here, I guess that was pandering. And then they become closer to these people that they're lying to. And they're like, oh my God, I feel so guilty. I'm going to tell everyone that I was lying and they'll understand. But right before they have the chance to do that, they get found out anyway. And there's this like liar reveal confrontation where everyone's like, you lied to us. And they're like, let me explain. And they never let them explain. And there's this big confrontation. You know, it's going to end fine. It's just very tired. I really hate that trope. I don't know, like, oh, hey, Sam, I'm going to make you a mod. Sam's in my D&D group. She's great. Yeah, I really hate that trope. It's predictable, and it's not even predictable in a way where there's a lot that can be done with it. It's the exact same plot every time. It's very unfun. Okay, in terms of a trope that's like very, very done, but that I like, this one's a little bit simpler. It's so cliche, and it's such like, it's such like a trashy pandering thing, but I really do love the trope where the villain kills everyone while listening to classical music. It's like, okay, but it gets me every time. I really, right? Conveniently timed misunderstandings. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, I love when the villain kills everyone and listens to classical music. Also, when they're listening to like Queen or something, that I have not seen often, but I dig it. For all of my complaints about Sherlock, the Thieving Magpie scene and the I Want to Break Free scene are wonderful soundtrack-wise. Okay. Next question is by Jack Kavanaugh, who asks, what is a piece of media you have always wanted to try because you just know you'll love it, but have never gotten around to it? Okay. The piece of media that I know that I'll enjoy, but I haven't gotten around to it, is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because the very first time I finished Avatar: The Last Airbender, I Googled shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was the first one that came up. Reading into it a little more, it doesn't seem that similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I thought that the description was really, really interesting. I've kind of seen enough kind of meme content about it to kind of absorb what the plot is like through cultural osmosis, like he wanted to bring his mother back, but it cost him an arm and a leg. Like, I kind of know of the plot, but I haven't actually seen it. Everybody I know who's seen it has liked it. I know that, not if, but like when I watch it, I will like it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Next question is by LGBT, who asks, does all media have meta commentary? Is it possible for a story to just be a story? Also, what's your opinion on Modest Mouse's hit 2005 song Float On? It's a great song. In terms of like, can a story just be a story? I think going back to my earlier video about death of the author and authorial intent, I think that whether you're examining it through a lens of intent or a lens on impact, I think like you get different answers, because in terms of intent, things can just be things, right? If I just wanted to create like a cool story about like aliens, I can just make a cool story about aliens. But in terms of impact, like, we live in a society. Things exist in the context of other things. That's something that's unavoidable. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but obviously everything that's made is made in the context it's made in. And when we're looking at it, we can look at it both through the context that it's made in and through what it means in terms of when it was made and why it was made, and also through the lens of the content itself. And I think there's value in doing both. I'm just going to answer this super chat question before I go back to Patreon questions, because they do disappear if I scroll up too much. The Seductive Giraffe says, hey, you're my #1 YouTube crush for sure. Thoughts on 3 Arrows on YouTube? Here's $5 to you. Thank you, The Seductive Giraffe. I've only seen one 3 Arrows video, but I really liked it. I am subscribed to the channel, so I should definitely check it out more because I like what I have seen. Gamers rise up. Okay. Daniel Lopez asks, Coke or Pepsi? I feel like I shouldn't answer this question. Joel, message me on Twitter. I will happily do a podcast with you. Just message me on Twitter, man. I feel like I shouldn't answer these brand questions after I made that video on brands. I feel like I would be contributing to this culture that I complained about, but I've already read the question aloud. I've already contributed to creating a brand image of both Coke and Pepsi. So with that in mind, Coke. I do prefer the taste of Coke. The cool, refreshing, carbonated, delicious taste of Coca-Cola. Next question is Rebecca Spawn, who asks a few questions. 1, what is your favorite webcomic, if any? 2, opinions of how progressive topics are generally handled in anime. And then says, this isn't really a question, but you should watch Planetus. It's an anime about space garbage men, economic inequalities between nations/space development, and how neoliberalism keeps us from our goals of bettering humankind as a whole. Ooh, I should watch that. First question, what is your favorite webcomic, if any? I'm not super familiar with a ton of recent webcomics because I've been too busy to read them. You guys all know, we know, former Homestuck, so I don't have to say that. I read another webcomic. I haven't read it in a while, but I really liked it when I read it. It's called Rock and Riot. It's like a 1950s aesthetic comic about a bunch of people in high school, but like there are a lot of, I know, I'm so sorry, Grandpa Glasses. Wait, Sam, I thought I made you a mod and now you're not blue. Oh no, I am a mod. Why are you not blue? Whatever. So Rock and Riot was a cute comic. I haven't read it in a while. And then there's one that everybody I know has read that I've been intending to read called Check Please, it's about people playing hockey, which initially doesn't sound very appealing to me, despite the fact that I'm Canadian. So I might be deported for saying that if anyone hears it. But everybody I know who's read it has really liked it. It's supposed to be really sweet. I think that they just got physically published as well. I think I read something, stop making Homestuck references in the comments, you gremlins. But everybody I know who has read it has enjoyed it. I think it's getting like physically printed. I've seen pictures of that. So I'm going to read Check Please, but I haven't yet. And then opinions of how progressive topics are generally handled in anime. Oh, Mega Crazy Hen, where would Canada deport Canadians to? I am a dual citizen. Fun fact. I'm a Canadian and Austrian because one of my parents was born in Austria, and so my sister and I have the both citizenships. So that's fun. But yeah, how progressive topics are generally handled in anime. Again, I don't want to generalize all anime, right? I don't want to, because I do feel like there's this trap of saying like all anime is problematic because, and then they list like a few or like a genre, like not genre wide, but like medium wide kind of host of negative tropes that exist in some, or people who say like, oh, anime is inherently subversive or anime is inherently fantastic. I think that anime is just that. It's a visual medium. And even though like every medium, there are trends across the mediums, it wouldn't be right to like generalize and say the way anime handles this. That being said, I have seen shows that did really well in terms of progressive tropes. And I've seen ones that have done very poorly. But I'm going to watch Planetest because I think that that is a very cool recommendation. Hardcore Lime, oh hey Hardcore Lime, love your videos, asks, do you have any advice for someone trying to grow a video essay channel, asking for a friend? Hey Hardcore Lime, I mean, I don't know what you do because like in terms of like these tips, because I feel like some of the things that I might suggest are very, very basic, but I don't know. I mean, you know, make engaging thumbnails. I know you do that. You have cool thumbnails. But if one in general were trying to start a video essay channel, that's the main thing. That's the visual cue for whether you should click or not. It doesn't have to be like this bright red, like with a red circle and like large impact font that says click on this. But you know, things that are engaging, things that give you an idea of what the video is going to be like. Definitely use keywords. I imagine everyone uses keywords, but you have a certain number of keywords that you can use. And I would use as many as possible, but use, you know, descriptive keywords because me, when I was originally making videos like dumb vlogs a very long time ago, and some of my friends kind of thought that the keyword section was just an opportunity to like type words that we thought were high traffic, like, you know, typing the word vlog or typing the word movie, which didn't end up being that useful because there's like a million different videos that use that keyword being posted like every 5 minutes. So that doesn't help it stand out. So we tried to use a mix of like unique keywords that people who enjoyed similar content might click on, and like well-known keywords. So, you know, use those. That's a good time. Good thumbnails, keywords. Take advice. Hey Peter, it's Hardcore Lime. They had a really good video on like the Jordan Peterson meat diet thing, which was, oh my God, the video was great. The meat diet thing is bad. Also, like take advantage of all of the promoting areas you can, right? Like BreadTube, the BreadTube subreddit is a great example, like posting your videos there, because that's already a community of people who are looking for that kind of content and who are happy about the increased volume of people making similar content. So, you know, use the BreadTube subreddit, speak to other creators, things like that, I think are all, you know, good advice. David Campari, Jube asks, almost forgot, Grookey, Score Bunny, or Sobble. Also, yes, I agree with Becca, you should watch Planetest. I love them all this time. They're all very, very sweet and good and nice. That being said, I have to give it to Grookey. Usually I only like water types, and even still, I pretty much exclusively choose water types when it comes to which starter I'm actually going to pick and play, because I feel like it's just strategically the best. But I don't know if I'm actually going to pick and play Grookey, but I absolutely think Grookey is the cutest. It does depend on, you know, what their evolutionary strains end up being like, but right now that's where I'm at because it's an adorable friend who I love. No, Sobble's amazing. I don't want Sobble to cry. Sobble's great. I love Sobble. Sobble is definitely my second favorite. Score Bunny is my third favorite. I don't want to say least favorite. I mean, out of the three, it's my least favorite, but that's not because I don't like it. It's just because it is an extremely good round of starters this time. Okay. Endele Nxizela asks, who is your favorite television showrunner currently? My fave is Pamela Adlon. The fact that she's writing, running, and directing one of the best shows on TV right now, Better Things, blows my mind. Donald Glover is a close second with Atlanta. I have to say Mike Schur, definitely. Most of my favorite shows right now were created by Mike Schur. You know, The Good Place, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec are all excellent. Part of what I like about his shows is that, you know, you have like diverse cultural backgrounds and you have like LGBTQ representation, and it's handled in the sense that, you know who these characters are, they've asserted themselves, but they're still, they're not treated as tokens, they're treated as fully established characters while still being allowed to like be themselves in that sense, because it's often like a delicate balance between, oh, this character is gay, but like he never mentions that because we don't want him to be a stereotype. So this character like maybe mentioned it once, but like we never see this character or anything like that. Or, having a character who is treated like a token or who is treated like a stereotype, like Kurt on Glee. And I feel like all of Mike Schur's shows really avoid that very excellently. I loved the episode where Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine came out as bisexual. It was really compelling and really great. I love Eleanor Shellstrop's like casual hedonism. I love Ray Holt. These are all fantastic characters, and they're just engaging shows. And what I like about his shows is that they're very centered around the characters' personal relationships with one another. The casts have really, really great chemistry together. It's about friendship, and they're often about found family, which is just a trope that I tend to appreciate in general. I just want to get to this super chat really quickly. Osama, thank you for the $5. Osama asks, it's 2 a.m. here in Jordan and I have uni tomorrow. Just wanted to say I love your videos and congrats on 100K. Also, what are some of your favorite books? Some of my favorite books. Okay, so I love the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. They're really, really excellent. Basically, there are these 4 kind of parallel universes that all have like a London in them, and it's centered around the only character who has the ability to travel between the two. So he basically serves as like an ambassador for the royal court. But then finally, one girl from like Grey London, which is just like the London in the world that we live in right now, except in the 1800s, finds a way to take herself back with him, and chaos ensues. It's a great series. I really love it. I also love, plugging V.E. Schwab again, the Vicious series by her. I guess was it a series? There's 2 of them. So the Vicious Duology. That one is really good. It's about this very morally gray protagonist in this world of superheroes, and you're like, should we really be rooting for this guy because he's kind of a terrible person, but the antagonist is kind of a worse person, so I guess we're rooting for him. It's just a really interesting series. There are a lot of great, compelling characters. I really love that book. Besides that, I just read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which people say is YA, but absolutely isn't. It's a really great fantasy book. I think I mentioned this in my last stream, but The Night Circus was actually a NaNoWriMo book, and I just appreciate on principle that it is a NaNoWriMo book, because I feel like so many people are quite snobby about NaNoWriMo for the idea that's like, oh, it tells anyone they can become a writer. If the peasants can write, then where are we? Books are destroyed. So I appreciate that just something that is good quality, many books, but that one especially managed to come out of it, because I feel like that's a very good counterpoint against that. Because honestly, like even if it didn't, even if not a single person who wrote their NaNoWriMo novel ever published it, I feel like there's still just inherent value in getting that writing practice and doing something that you love. I love NaNoWriMo. I love The Night Circus. It's a great book. You should all read it. Next question. Oh, I just refreshed and there are a whole bunch more. This is going to be a while. Angela asks again, one more question as I shamelessly take advantage of Patreon privileges. Sorry, what's your favorite movie soundtrack / cinematic score? I don't know as much about scoring as I should, so I just have to go off of like my monkey brain saying music sound good, very like. So recently loved the score to Black Panther, that one moment when the camera just turns upside down, as does everybody's world. And like the previously like, very classical cinematic music is replaced with like a modern track and you're like, oh shit, everything's changing. Loved it, was excellent. If we're doing all movies, oh, this is so basic. But honestly, I love the Star Wars score. It's so iconic. It's instantly recognizable. You know, you're filled with hope when you hear some of the songs, you're filled with like intimidation when you hear some of the others. It's just a great soundtrack. It's an easy answer, but I just love it. It's good stuff. Lord Jackson asks, I can't speak. You gain access to J.K. Rowling / Pottermore's Twitter account. What is the most batshit insane thing that you add to the Harry Potter canon? Dobby fucks, man. Dobby just fucks so much. Anytime that Dobby is not on screen in Harry Potter is because he fucks. I'm not even gonna like tweet it in like a proper theoretical like, oh, now all of the comments are being held for review. You're right, Fauna, that is already canon. I'm not even gonna tweet it like, you know, formally speaking. It's just going to be a tweet that says Dobby fucks. Nothing big asks, you're in charge of making a CW show loosely based on your experiences in university debate championships. What's the arc of the first season and how do you make it appealing for the average CW viewer? Okay. First question for the live stream. Are there any other university debaters in this live stream or people who know stuff about university debates? I'm guessing the answer is probably not, but there might be like a couple. I want to watch a debate club anime. Dude, same. Okay, very few people. There are some high school debaters. We got a university debater. I love it. I respect it. First thing, if we're making a CW show, there is going to be very little actual debating in this show, right? What we do have of debating, we're going to get rid of all of the formalized structures. There's not going to be any like British parliamentary like, oh, thank you, honorable judges. That does not happen. There are no 7-minute speeches. There are definitely no 10-minute LO speeches. There's just no like polite, POIs. It's just going to be like people going toe to toe in like a really hardcore sense, because that's much more exciting. The speeches are going to be like 4 minutes because otherwise nobody would ever watch the actual debate sections. It's going to be like one of those YouTube debates where it's just two people going completely buck wild at each other. In terms of the like story arcs, based on my own debate experience, what's going to happen in this anime? Okay, so there's going to be a forbidden love story. We got to have those. So it's going to be two people from two separate universities who are massive rivals, right? Like these are just schools that just hate each other, because in the real world, I find that my debate society, like this is a very friendly debate circuit, but it's going to be very hardcore. So we're going to do like a forbidden romance, like Romeo and Juliet style thing between two debaters. We have to have our like token, like best friend of one of the characters who's gay and is like, what are you guys even doing? This whole thing is a mess. Why are straight people like this? To be fair, there are quite a couple of people like that in the debate circuit. It's not a sock puppet, but now that somebody asked me about debate, I'm getting very excited. I know a couple people like that in the debate circuit because it's just a very queer circuit. So we have to have one of those characters. The main arc is going to be this new student who has tried to join the society at this very prestigious school. They've never done it before, but somehow they're allowed in because it's a very exclusive club, because unlike in real life, they just are overflowing with new members. They're not even trying to recruit. They're actively turning people away. This person manages to get in, and it's their arc of like getting to the top and becoming the top debater, which is something you can quantify, while like fighting very mean people and navigating this romantic love story during the process. Also, there's probably going to be a murder mystery in there somewhere because it's a CW show. So the climax is actually like, it's okay. So oh my God, no, I just thought of something. So the way Canadian parliamentary debate works is that the government team, so that the team who like speaks first gets to decide what the debate is about, which is very fun. Because with British parliamentary, like there's a judge who sets all the motions, and people have equal amounts of time to decide to like prepare for the debate. But with Canadian parliamentary, the opening team comes in, they're like, this is what the debate's about. And the opposition team literally has the length of the first person's speech while they are speaking to prepare a case against them. So it's the finals. Someone's been murdered. It's a Canadian parliamentary tournament. The government team, who consists of our main character and someone else, I don't know. We can even pretend there's no teams and make it individual because it's a CW show and no one cares about accuracy, comes in and they're like, honorable speaker, this house believes that the opposition murdered person. And it just turns into like this crazy court case. That's my CW pitch. I spent way too much time on that question because it was a very fun question. Okay, next question. Michael Diaz asks, can you reschedule your stream because I was deep into coding and you came on? Haha. No, I'm very sorry, I can't, but this will be up unlisted. Actual question though, thoughts on how hashtag relatable content made by mentally ill people affects the cutesification/romanticization of mental illness. So I don't know that like relatable memes and stuff necessarily serves to cutesify mental illness. And I especially think like when that content is typically created by mentally ill people themselves, I don't necessarily feel like it's fair to blame them for a culture that cutesifies or romanticizes that illness. So I would hesitate kind of to go that far. You know, especially because even when it is framed in like a funny, relatable sense, it is often people talking about their own experiences and simply kind of using humor as a coping mechanism. Case in point, the recent ContraPoints video about like dark humor and how that can serve as beneficial when you're living through that humor. That being said, I have been in those communities in the past, and I think there are sometimes negative influences coming from that, but I don't think those negative influences necessarily come in the form of cutesification so much as like an anti-recovery context where you build up social capital from being like the most mentally ill and the most able to like articulate your experiences. And that means that I've seen a lot of people kind of panic when they feel like they're starting to get better, because then they lose that kind of sense of support and their friendships and their social capital and their community. So a lot of times people in that situation then aren't encouraged to like talk about their recovery or, provide tips for getting better. And, when you're at your low point, sometimes having a community of people who are suffering can be genuinely helpful. But once you're at that point where you're trying to get out of it, it can often be a bit of a like crabs in a bucket mentality. And yeah, exactly. People getting attached to their illnesses. And of course, that isn't caused by the presence of that community, but it can sort of exacerbate it. So, there's a necessity of why it's there, but it can become harmful in certain contexts. Okay, Brendan West asks, what's your favorite D&D race and class to play? I've been listening to a lot of Trials and Trebuchets on my various commutes to class, and it's super fun. Yeah, so my friends and I are in a D&D podcast. It's called Trials and Trebuchets. It's really, really good and really, really fun. I play a bard. She's excellent, and I love her. So you guys should Google Trials and Trebuchets. We're on Spotify and iTunes. Thank you, Brendan, for mentioning my podcast so I can mention my podcast shamelessly. So your question, what's your favorite D&D race and class to play? Oh, I've played all of them now because I kind of had a rule to myself that I wasn't going to play the same class twice until I had played every class. Now that I've played all of them, I think my favorite classes to play are Rogue, Bard, and Monk, mostly because of the first two. I think because of the role-playing capacities. I just find that class tends to lend itself to interesting characters. And I also just like the concept of like vicious mockery so much. I've been making so many terrible puns as my bard, because the way that I justify it, even though the bad puns are often not devastating insults, is that the physical pain of having to listen to bad puns in and of itself is enough to deal physical damage. I just love that as a spell. And I think I just like Rogue partially because my first real D&D character was a rogue and I'm kind of attached to that. And then I just love Monk because it's a little bit overpowered and Avatar: The Last Airbender. I just like it. It's a good thing. Zach Bowman asks, playing any games, or is there anything coming up you're looking forward to? I assume this is talking largely about video games. Actually, let me open up my Steam library because I don't remember. The most recent thing I've been playing for a long time is just The Sims 4 because I got it when it was like half off for a Christmas sale, and I got nearly every expansion pack except for the ones that I Googled and everybody said were terrible, like the go to work or whatever it's called one. But I got every other one. Oh, now I have to put in my Steam password. What on earth is my Steam password? That wasn't my Steam password. Is this my Steam password? Yes, I got it. No, Sims 4 is great. What do I have in my library right now? I don't want Steam news. Leave. Oh, somebody added me to my friends list. I don't know who that is. So I have in here Dream Daddy, which I haven't played in a while, but it's a dating sim where you are a dad and you date other dads. Oh, Dream Daddy. Oh, this one pissed me off because I made this video recently where I was talking about how diverse works are held to higher standards. And I forgot to mention Dream Daddy because I forgot it existed. But Dream Daddy is such a key example of this because like, it's just a cute dating sim, right? Where you date other dads, but there was like some secret ending where it turns out they're all in a cult, which didn't end up making it into the game. But people found out about this secret ending and got so mad because it was like demonizing gay people or something like that. And it was just such a stretch. And that really kind of bothered me. So I was going to mention that in my video, but then I forgot to. The Dream Daddy is a really cute game. Night in the Woods. I love Night in the Woods. The last time I played it was about half a year ago during break. And it's just like, it's kind of a comforting game to come back to in a sort of somber way. The story is excellent. It's a really great representation of depression and lots of cool anti-capitalist commentary. It's an excellent game. I would definitely recommend Night in the Woods. Civ 4, which I'm terrible at, but I constantly play anyway. We have Undertale. We have a game called Long Live the Queen, where you're like, it's like an anime RPG game where you're like a young burgeoning queen and you have to figure out what skills to train, and there's a big fight in the end, so there's really only a few that you can train and not die, but you know, you get to decide what kind of ruler you want to be and uncover like the mysteries of your family. It's very fun. And then Portal 2, which is just genuinely a wonderful game that I love very much. It was like, I think that was the first Steam game that I ever had. And I built it with my parents. So my parents really built it because I was like 13. This slightly smaller than life-size model of Wheatley. And we went to Build-A-Bear and we got one of those $10 like audio clips where you push the button and it says a thing. And then I recorded some of Wheatley's lines. So now when you push it, it has the like pick me up dialogue. So that is still in my bedroom back at home to this day. So those are the games that I play and enjoy. Charter Jacobson asks, would you like to talk more about your queer identity? I think it would be nice and validating for me and others to hear. Yeah, so I am queer. I'm like bi or pan. I'm kind of comfortable with both words. I love beautiful people in general. It's a good time. Bi rights. I love bi characters in media. They make me very, very happy. That one song from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend about, you know, being bi, and then like he's playing the saxophone in front of the giant bi pride flag is just my whole life. I love it very much. It's a good time. That's kind of it. I don't have like anything deep or like profound to say about like my queer identity. It's just like, it's a good time. It's a good time. Okay. Jack Kavanaugh asks, you've shared your thoughts on CW shows like Riverdale, Supernatural, etc. Any thoughts on the DC shows on there? I feel like you'd especially love how batshit crazy Legends of Tomorrow is. I have never seen any of the DC shows there, but now that you say that, I'm kind of curious. So I'm going to add Legends of Tomorrow to my list because I do love shows that are just kind of off the rails. Jacob Bank asks, what's your favorite thing about Maple Leaf Gang? Is Maple Leaf Gang like a term for Canadians? Is this just like, what do you like about being Canadian? Because if that's the question, I like that thing where you pour maple syrup on snow and then you wrap it up until it freezes and then you just eat it. That's my favorite thing about Maple Leaf Gang. Unless this is like a sports thing. If this is like a Toronto Maple Leafs thing, then I don't understand because I don't get the sports ball. I mean, we literally ran a sports case at the debate tournament we were in this weekend, and I still don't get sports ball. To be fair, we did lose that case, but Maple Leaf Gang. Andale Nsizala asks, are you good at debate? I mean, I like to think that I'm good at debate. I have never won a debate tournament. I came 4th at last weekend's debate tournament, and there were, I believe, 24, 25 people at the tournament, and I got 4th best speaker, which is good, and I got a medal for it, which is very cool. I didn't have this sitting here as a prop in case I got this question. This is just my table where all of my things are, I promise. But I mean, I'm not the best debater in my region, but I like to think that I'm a pretty good debater. So it's a fun thing that I love. Jacob Bank asks, do you play an instrument? So I haven't played it in a long time, but I did take flute lessons when I was younger for several years. I think that if there was a flute in front of me right now and I picked it up and I tried to get back into it, it would definitely, you're not on Mod Squad? No, you are on Mod Squad. I just clicked on your name and there's a remove moderator option, which means you should still be a mod. But I think that if I had a flute in front of me right now and I like picked it up and tried to play it, it would definitely take me like a few hours to get back into it. But I think that I would still intuitively remember how to play it, kind of like riding a bike. And then I took guitar lessons for about a year in high school, and I never really got very good at it, but I do have a guitar that I can kind of sort of not really play. Oh, and I took piano lessons when I was really young, just kind of as a base to learn how to read music and have a thing to do. I don't think that, unlike flute, I don't think that if I were sitting in front of a piano right now, I could kind of intuitively figure out, again, how to get good at it. But I think if I had, a tutor next to me in a couple days, I'd probably be okay. But I don't currently take any lessons for anything or play anything. Michael Diaz says, thanks for the answer. I watched a video about how the relatable content did affect it, and I was just confused. Wanted another perspective. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to share my perspective. It's what I'm here for. Jacob Bank asks, what's your catchphrase? If you don't have one, what is something you catch yourself saying often? I feel like I have zero self-awareness, so I'm going to defer to my friends who are mods in this chat, and I'm going to ask them if they think I have a catchphrase, because I don't instinctively think of myself saying any particular thing over and over again, but I'm sure that I do have like things I find myself saying often. Grandpa Glasses says sorry. I do say sorry often, but I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's like a Canadian thing, or if that's just a thing that I say at the same volume as everyone else, but people notice it because I have like the Canadian accent when I say it, and people are like, that's a thing I know Canadians to say. That being said, yeah, that's a catchphrase. That is a thing that I say often. Yeah, that's true. You constantly say, I'm not saying thing bad. Yeah, I feel like part of that is me wanting to preempt negative comments by acknowledging that that is an argument that exists while still clarifying my position because I don't want to be misinterpreted. But yeah, I do do that often. Dr. BZR1, thank you very much for the super chat, asks, who are some of your favorite Danganronpa characters? Ooh, okay, my favorite Danganronpa characters. I love Kyoko Kirigiri very much. She's a sweetie pie, and I love her. I don't love as a person, but I love as a character Togami. And I think when you do understand his backstory and you understand where he's coming from in his actions and you understand that like he wasn't born rich. This was something that he had to like fight other people for. And that's why he has the attitude that he does. You understand his character a little bit better. I mean, he's not a good person, but I like him as a character. I love Kazuryu from Super Danganronpa 2 very much. He's just a sweet boy. And I think that he has an amazing story arc. I think he has one of the best story arcs in the second game. He goes through a lot of growth. I love him very much. He's a sweet boy. And I love Hajime Hinata a lot. He's a great protagonist. I find him very relatable. And who else? Maki, I really like. Maki Harukawa. She is a good character. I don't find myself thinking of the third Danganronpa series. The third Danganronpa game is part of the series so much as the first two, possibly because when I got into Danganronpa, the first two games were already out. So I had kind of consumed them both as a unit, and then the third one came out much later, but also because the meta commentary did kind of set it apart from the other games. But, you know, given that it is part of the series, I really like her as a character. She's very cool and very interesting. They're all problematic faves because it is a game where teenagers commit murder against each other. So there's not really any unproblematic faves in the bunch, but they're all good people. Yeah, okay. What's the next question I should answer? Aaron Fox asks, how old am I? I'm 20. I'll be 21 in June. Oh, we have another super chat from Ryan Rumkilawan, who asks, since your Supernatural episode, have you looked back or checked up on it on occasion? Any paranormal wrecks? If you mean, have I looked back or checked up on Supernatural on occasion? No. If you mean, have I looked back or checked up on the Supernatural video on occasion? Also no. So I don't know why I bothered with that distinction, but I haven't because my old videos, they're not even that old, but they are like a little bit painful. In terms of paranormal wrecks, like I guess like works that feature the paranormal that I would recommend. Okay, if we're talking problematic faves, actually. So I just finished the Umbrella Academy and I have thoughts. I have many thoughts. Really, really cool concept, fantastic potential. There are some really amazing, really likable characters and kind of interesting ways that they handle topics like time travel. And it is a very cool kind of deconstruction of the like school for the magical power kids growing up and saving the world thing, because hey, they're all emotionally stunted baby adults. But there are things I very much don't love. Oh my God, because I was reading all these critiques before I started the show, like, oh, the show really fails its female characters. And I was watching the first half of the show and I was like, well, I'm not really seeing this, you know. I mean, I kind of get it, but it seems like, you know, they have decent agency. They're interesting enough. And then I watched the last 3 episodes of Umbrella Academy and I was so mad at the way they handled Allison's character. Actually, all the female characters, they did the dead girlfriend, like, who literally solely existed to fuel the angst of her, like, lover type deal. They did the, like, literally silencing one of the main characters, one of, like, 2 women. Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of stuff that I didn't love. And then just some of the potential really wasn't handled great. There were some story arcs that kind of got dropped a little bit. But that being said, I still really enjoyed it. I think that they handled some of the paranormal aspects quite well. And I do think that it is a cool deconstruction of some of those superhero tropes. So, you know, whether one wants to watch it is honestly up to their discretion. I liked it, but is basically how I would phrase my thoughts on that show. But in terms of paranormal wrecks, there's one. Back to the Patreon questions, because someone just asked another one. Would you ever do a party game / Jackbox live stream, either for patrons or even for everyone? I guess by party game live stream, they would mean like me playing like party games. The thing about doing a party game live stream is that I would have to have people to play party games with. So, I mean, I guess I could technically do that if like I hung out with all my friends and they wanted to live stream with me. But then like, I don't know, like obviously like we have a lot of in-jokes and stuff, and I don't know if a crowd would find that interesting or engaging, or if like my friends would even want to do that. But like, you know, in theory, that sounds like a cool idea. In practice, I don't know if that's something that I could do. Brendan West also asks, what are your thoughts on The Legend of Korra, especially the last episode and how they handled Korrasami? Sorry for so many questions. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed The Legend of Korra. Obviously, it wasn't as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender, but on its own, it was definitely a very good animated show. Obviously, when you compare it to Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's not going to be as excellent, but there are areas that I think it improved upon, like the visuals and the animation. The music was excellent. I loved the jazz soundtrack, and I really did like how the last episode went down. And I do think, I didn't feel that the Korrasami relationship came out of nowhere, because I did notice a lot of plot elements, because I did know in advance that it was happening, kind of building up to it. Like when Korra was back at the Water Tribe and Asami was the only person who she felt comfortable writing to. That was kind of an example of that. So I thought that it was decently handled. I wish that it could have come in sooner, but it happens. Tom A. Lehrer asks, do you have any queer novel recommendations? Have you read any Zoe Reed? Oh, hey, Kat. Love you. I'm going to mod you as well. I know, I love Alaska as well. So queer novel recommendations. I haven't read a lot since high school, so some of these are going to be YA. But if people like YA, that's cool. So one of the ones that I read when I was younger and really enjoyed was a book called Proxy by an author named Alex London. The premise of Proxy is basically extremely rich people it's basically like a modern interpretation of like the whipping boy concept, in which very, very rich people are able to like hire people to act as their proxies, which essentially means if you commit a crime or you do something, your proxy is the person who experiences the consequences, which basically means that you have a lot of very poor people having to, like, they're being paid and this is how they make their money. But if their proxy-er, I guess, kind of fucks up or commits a crime, they are on the hook for it, basically. So, and they do talk about like the racialized dimension of this, because it's mostly like rich white kids versus like Black and other people of color who are serving as the proxies. So basically, the story is about this one guy. I think he kills someone in a drunk driving accident, and his proxy is on the hook for it. I haven't read this in a while, but I believe he escapes. I believe they like kind of end up meeting and bonding with one another. And then I think there's some like YA thing about joining the resistance. And what's the book called? The book is called Proxy. It's by an author named Alex London. I read it in high school. I really liked it. The Miseducation of Cameron Post is a really great queer book. I read it before the movie came out. I think that like the changes the movie made were kind of necessary based on the medium, but I think that the book is kind of a more full-bodied exploration into the characters. It's a really great book. It was written a little while ago, so there's a little bit of dated stuff there, but it's a great story. It's a good book. There's one called Ash that I really liked. That was a while ago. It was a pretty decent book. Yeah, those are the main ones that are coming to mind right now. Most of these are RYA, but actually, I talked earlier about the Shades of Magic series by V. Schwab. There's a character in that, one of the main like supporting cast, who is bisexual and who has, not in the first book, but in the second and third book, has a really, really satisfying and very exciting love story, which is really good. So, if that recommendation list includes stories where the protagonists aren't queer, but that still includes those queer stories, I would definitely recommend the Shades of Magic series for many reasons. It's a good time. Okay, let me just refresh the Patreon post again to see if there are any other Patreon questions. Oh, Brendan West clarifies, when I said party games, I meant more along the lines of the Jackbox games where you can use live stream to play games with the viewers. I've never heard of that, but that is very cool, and I'm going to have to look into that. Ooh, Hardcore Lime asks, do you have a favorite queen from season 11 in Drag Race, Plastique Tiara Gang, forever? Plastique is nice. Plastique is cool. I like her. But if I had to choose a favorite, okay, there are 3 queens who I'm currently rooting for a little bit. So the first one is like, not that I'm only rooting for her, but I feel like part of me has to root for her because she's the first Canadian ever to be on the show. So there's the like, you know, we're all from Canada. In some sense, we have to root for the Canadians. So that's Brooklyn Heights. I mean, she also just seems like a pretty good performer. I mean, she won the first challenge. She seems cool. I love her ballet background. So Brooklyn Heights. Second, bye, Peter. Second queen I'm rooting for is Nina West because, what do you think of the problematic aspects of RuPaul's Drag Race? They're not great. Don't support them. Yeah, Nina West. I love like the kind of campy musical theater aesthetic in general, hence why I got a tattoo inspired by Jinx Monsoon. It's water off a duck's back because that's her catchphrase. I guess Nina just reminds me a little bit of Jinx and Bend de la Creme, and I like her in that. I also think that she's done a lot of like good charity and philanthropy. She has some really cool concept. I love the like moving dress that she did for Entertainer of the Year. Nina's just seems really cool, and I'm absolutely rooting for her. Finally, I'm rooting for Evie Oddly just because I love the like cool, weird club kid aesthetic that Evie brings. Her entrance for me was one of the best entrances on this season, her and Mercedes. I just love, I love everything about her aesthetic. She is just like a very cool queen. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she does. You know, I like kind of the weird ones like Sasha Velour and Evie. They're very cool. Good stuff. Okay, I think those are all of the patron questions right now. What do we have in the chat? Let's see. Let me do a scroll. Oh, favorite Vine. What is my favorite Vine? Oof, I haven't seen them in such a long time. But if I had to choose a favorite Vine, I would probably have to go for maybe the Yeet one not because of the quality of the Vine itself, but because of just the culture that sprung forth from it. And I don't know if it was originally Vine, but the Back at It Again at Krispy Kreme one, where the guy just like knocks down the Krispy Kreme sign and it ends like right as he's doing that. So we know nothing about the consequences and we kind of have to extrapolate. So that was an excellent one. Yeah, Back at It Again at Krispy Kreme, I might have to say was my favorite. Do you get tired of people telling you that you look like Hunter Avalon? I haven't actually had comments saying I look like Hunter Avalon in a really long time. I think that I was mainly getting those comments when I did reviews of TV shows because now that I talk about more left-leaning content, the kind of people who watch me are not typically the kind of people who watch Hunter Avalon. And if they do, they're not going to take it as a compliment. So I haven't really gotten those as of late, but it did irritate me a little bit. Not overly, but mildly during the first like 4 months of making videos when I used to get that a lot. And then I addressed it in my like 10,000 subscribers Q&A video. I was like, please let me rest. I am aware that I look like Hunter Avalon. I think that curbed it a little bit. Yuri Vilme asks, do you think the separation of Quebec is a relevant question on the left? Maybe I'm just biased because I'm not from Quebec, but based on what I've read about the issue, it just kind of categorically seems like not a great idea. I mean, I understand the cultural distinction between Quebec, but given that it's in the middle of the country, there are just some practical issues there. I mean, I don't think that means people shouldn't discuss it, but just that's where I'm standing. I would have to do more reading up exactly on the issue before I gave like a definitive stance on, Quebec separation, but it just practicality wise, my first instinct is maybe not, maybe let's not. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever read Genealogy of the Holy War? It's a great political thriller / dark romance story. You'd probably like it. No, I haven't, but I always get these really great recommendations when I do these live streams, which I very much appreciate. So thank you again for the recommendation. Somebody, B Long says, so you've said you're a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I myself can't get into a cop show despite all the other upsides. Any thoughts on reconciling the cop show thing with a show that does good representation / plot? I mean, kind of like the no ethical consumption thing. I think that to some degree, everything we consume is going to have problems associated with it. Like, there's no such thing as a completely unproblematic work because, you know, we live in a society, as one says. And so I think it's just kind of deciding what you're willing to tolerate and what you're, it's Grandpa, is that a full-on pot of tea next to you? Yeah, but now it's empty. But like, it's just kind of deciding what you're willing to tolerate and what you aren't. When I say this, I'm not saying this to suggest that like the fact that it presents cops as like, you know, funny and quirky isn't a problem. But I think that like, given the fact that the show kind of presents itself not as this is a representation of the current world we live in, but like this is a fantasy of like what the world could be like potentially, I'm kind of more willing to handle it, especially because they do deal with a lot of like critiques right now of like, you know, Holt, who is like an openly Black gay captain, goes up for commissioner promotion, and eventually, you know, despite all of the work he puts into through the season, he loses to like, you know, regressive white guy. And I like that they're open about that. You know, there was a whole episode about like how Terry was racially profiled by another police officer. Obviously that doesn't like solve the problem inherent with like cop show, but I feel like just based on that and based on the fact that there's really no such thing as like a purely morally pure form of media, given all the good things about it, when I watch the show, it's just something that I'm willing to tolerate. And I don't take it as a reflection on reality when I watch it. So that's my thoughts on that. And that's kind of my thoughts on consuming like problematic stuff in general. Like I talk about RuPaul's Drag Race being a problematic fave, and there are a lot of issues with it. And it's like when I watch it, I don't enjoy it because of those issues, right? Like I'm enjoying it in spite of those issues. Like obviously I don't support all of the like transphobic comments that RuPaul has made, but I do love like the talent of the queens on the show, many of whom are trans and many of whom like, you know, like Jinx Monsoon or like Gia Gunn or Sonique, who are just really amazing and talented artists. And I'm glad that they have the platform they do, despite all of the like horrible stuff that I absolutely don't support. Okay. Let's see. Next question. What's a fun one to answer? Oh yeah, some people are talking about Danganronpa as a problematic fave, and I definitely feel that. Let's see. Oh, hi, really new to the channel. Your videos are interesting. Can you talk about the Captain Marvel controversy? If you already have, sorry for asking. Again, I'm really new. PS, you look great. Thank you. To be honest, it's not really a controversy from what I've seen. Like, I don't think there are any like, you know, legitimate points being made about, you know, people preemptively leaving negative reviews before they've seen it. I think it's literally just, you know, people who don't like female superheroes having a tantrum over it and creating fake outrage. It's not really a controversy so much as like a public tantrum. There's no debate happening there. So kind of that's that. Jolo says, you said you're also Austrian. Do you speak German / have any thoughts on German shows or films? Ich spreche Deutsch ein bisschen, but I'm not great at it. I wish that my parents had taught me German growing up, but they kind of like didn't. I think they tried to teach my older sister, and my older sister was like, nah, no thanks. So they didn't even bother with me. So I kind of absorbed a little bit of it like growing up and like visiting my grandparents in Austria, but not enough of it to really hold a conversation. I know a lot of insults in German because when you're 8 and you're learning about, your heritage, the first thing you want to know is like, I want to know all the swear words. So those are in my brain because that's when you have the most formative linguistic memories. Wish I could speak it more. I tried on Duolingo a couple times, but then I just didn't. But I would love to learn it if one could. Let's see. Yi asks, what languages do you speak? So yeah, I speak English ostensibly. I speak French and I speak a little bit of Japanese. Let's see. Ooh, this is a fun one. Chef Frillis Productions asks, are you a fan of stage musicals / plays? And if so, do you have a favorite? I am such a fan of stage musicals and plays, and I have many favorites. Oh boy, because I always loved musical theater growing up. I was like that annoying theater kid, and I still am, and I'm at peace with that. In terms of shows I really like, I was talking earlier. I'm sorry, Grandpa Glasses. I know that I'm helping you with your script about why Heathers the Musical is terrible right now, and you're making great arguments, but I like it. I have terrible taste, and I like it. Yeah, I really do like Heathers. I also Wicked was my first favorite musical, hence all of my talk about how I wrote like the Wicked fan fiction and there was the plagiarism drama when I was 12. So yeah, Wicked was one of my favorites. I had an entire section in my most recent video about Hamilton that I cut because it was redundant and it was just too spicy. It was too spicy of a take, but that's a show. Into the Woods is amazing and I love it. Again, fantastic commentary, amazing music, interesting story, great like deconstruction of a lot of fairy tale tropes. Last Midnight is fantastic. Still mad about the movie. Speaking of still mad about the movie, Les Mis, I have thoughts on that. David Chi asks, may I ask you about your camera / lighting setup when it isn't a smartphone taped to a wall, that is? Yeah, that was a time. So when I'm filming back in my, like my house that's not a university, I'm usually using the natural light from the window. And then I have one like floor lamp that I usually have lit up to kind of contrast that and make it, less of a gamble on nature a little bit. I am not using a formal camera right now. I've just been using my webcam. Hopefully in the near future that will change. But like, I don't have a lot of, expensive equipment at the moment. Like, I mean, I guess my computer is in and of itself expensive equipment because it's a computer, but, expensive equipment designed specifically for filming. The only thing I really have to that end is my trusty blue Yeti mic, which you can't see, but it's right out of frame. This has changed and it's now going to be an ASMR live stream. Just kidding. But I have my mic and my mic made me really happy because people kept complaining about my audio quality. And now people still complain about my audio quality, but they complain less. And I'm going to be like, okay, buy me a better mic then if they complain. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whenever people leave comments about like, I'm sorry, Sam, the only thing I have in me is ASMR jokes, okay? Yeah, whenever somebody leaves a comment that's like, your computer camera quality is terrible, or like your editing software sucks, or your mic is bad, I'm like, okay, buy me a better one then. I will send you my PayPal link. Otherwise, like, why are you here? Would it be possible to get a left tube reading of My Immortal? I did a dramatic reading of My Immortal and I tried to put it on YouTube and tried to make it go viral when I was like 13 and it just got dislikes and no one saw it. So I'm still scarred by that traumatic experience. But honestly, like a bunch of bread tubers getting together and reading My Immortal would be a very interesting experience. And I kind of do want to see it now. But I feel like My Immortal is like a little bit done. If somebody could find like a similarly bad one that was from around the same period of time so that it decreases the likelihood of it just being like a ripoff of My Immortal. I feel like there are some interesting ones. I would love to see Jenny Nicholson get in on that one because she's found some interesting stuff on the internet. Something like a big BreadCon dramatic reading of something Jenny finds would be very entertaining. Okay. Trigger warning. No, Jenny Nicholson already did a reading of Trigger Warning and it was great. So now nobody needs to do one ever again. Oh, the Hamilton hot take was just using Hamilton as an example of like some of the media that I was talking about in my video. Wasn't really that hot of a take. It was just being like, yeah, it's got a lot of bad shit. It's, it's really, problematic for these reasons. Here's some other like really similarly popular musicals that also have bad shit. Maybe we should also be talking about these and not like just this one thing was basically the take. Okay. Let's see. This tea is cold now. I spent too much time talking and not enough time. You should read one of the books Girl Defined recommended. Oh God, don't remind me that the Girl Defined channel exists. I wanted to block that out of my entire brain and memory, and I just had to be reminded that that was a real channel that existed. So that was the thing. Your tea spilling made your tea cold. I know, right? It's so sad. Drink more tea. The problem is that if I go and I heat my kettle up to make more tea, there's going to be the like loud kettle noise for like 5 minutes while the kettle heats up. And then I have to go leave to do that. And I think that'll make people sad. And I might miss a super chat question. So I think I'm just going to drink this like sad cold tea. Oh, David, no, I didn't mean to suggest that you were suggesting that like the video quality was insufficient. I was just talking about like other comments that I received in general that suggest this. Not that your comment specifically was saying that my stuff was bad. But yeah, I mean, I think as one like gets more subscribers and like gets to the point where they can have like a high production quality of videos, I think that's a good thing. But I feel like when somebody is starting out, it's not a requirement. I think, you know, if you have good enough ideas and you're engaging and you're entertaining, obviously that's not going to be a guarantee of success because a lot of stuff really is just luck. But I don't think that you need expensive equipment inherently to make good videos with good arguments. I don't have expensive equipment at the moment, and I like to think the stuff I make is good. Ooh, Connor Johnson with a super chat. Thank you so much, Connor Johnson, asks, did you know that Wallace and Gromit is turning 30? I did not know that Wallace and Gromit is turning 30. You know, part of me is actually surprised that Wallace and Gromit hasn't been around for longer. I just feel like some part of me feels like Wallace and Gromit has always been there in my life. Something is surprising about that. I don't know. I thought they'd be turning like 40. But, you know, happy birthday, Wallace and Gromit. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, the little red-haired girl from across the street asks, did you see the video Mahler and Co made about you? And if so, what did you think? I didn't watch the whole thing because it was too long, honestly. Oh, Johan Hansen says, no question, greetings from Sweden. Thank you. Thank you, Johan. Greetings from Canada. Yeah, I know it has always been there. I just feel like Wallace and Gromit is an eternal force. It could have been there for, I know, before the creation of the universe, you know. In the beginning, there was Wallace and Gromit. Who knows? I have no concept of linear time. Let's see. Ooh, favorite nonfiction book. The Devil in the White City is a really good one. It's about H.H. Holmes. Very interesting serial killer who built this like murder hotel. It's written in a very literary style, but it is a nonfiction book. It's just very interesting. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, serial killers are so cool. I want to look into their twisted minds because, I mean, to be real, most of them don't have fascinating psyches. Most of them were like entitled bigots. But I just think it was an interesting book in general. It's cool. I'd recommend it. Just another random person says, what do you think of Lambs from Hamilton? Oh, that's people on the internet shipping John Lawrence and Alexander Hamilton. They're real people, so, I mean, I don't love that. I just feel like that's not great for the field of history to, like, I mean, I guess if it's talking solely in the fictionalized concept of the characters, I get where people are coming from, but, like, they are real people. I mean, if we want to analyze historically whether there was, like, a romantic relationship happening there, I think that's fine, but when that gets kind of muddled with fictionalization, I think that's a little bit muddy and, you know, not awesome for like the field of history. Don't love it. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I especially don't like shipping real people when they're like people who are alive and who can see the content, just because I think that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But you know, I'm so speaking so quickly. Even with historical figures, I don't love it. I don't think people should engage in it personally. So you don't ship Trump and Hillary. How dare you? I'm very sorry about that. There is a non-binary person on the new season of Big Brother Canada. Did you ever watch Big Brother? Oh, I think that's really cool. No, I have never seen Big Brother. I've seen Survivor and like The Amazing Race and similar shows, but I have never particularly seen Big Brother. But maybe now I will have to. Ooh, Bridget Walsh says, hot take time maybe, please. Now I wish my tea were hot. Did you read Twilight? If so, what are your opinions after time to reflect? I love all your videos. You are so validating. Thank you, Bridget. Twilight is such an interesting case study, just based on not only the immense popularity that it got after such a short time, but the immense kind of backlash to the popularity that it got. My thoughts are, it's complicated because I think that some of the reason that Twilight got the intense volume of backlash that it did was because it was largely popular with young women, and some people just absolutely hate anything that's popular with young women, right? Like, people, girls were too passionate about it. People were too excited. And I think that that was definitely part of it. On the other hand, though, that doesn't mean that Twilight itself was good. Like, there was some creepy stuff there. I think there was definitely a romanticization of abusive relationships happening there. There was the character who fell in love with a baby. That was a thing that I did not like very much. And it just wasn't like a great story. I think there was some potential there. I read an interesting post that was basically like literally every single side character in Twilight has an interesting backstory that's a lot more interesting than the protagonist. And it's a shame that we never got to see it, which is true. Like, I think all the siblings had very cool backstories, but it's hard because, like, I don't think it's a bad thing that there was backlash to the Twilight popularity, but I think that that backlash happened for the wrong reasons, basically. I think there is often this like huge backlash to things that like young girls like. And often the problem is that that backlash isn't directed towards the media itself. It's not like Twilight is, I hate the word problematic, but like problematic for this reason. It's, I hate the fans for this reason. And when the fans are literally like 8 to 14-year-old girls, it's like, okay, even if it is a bad thing, people aren't terrible people for enjoying something that has problems. Let's be a little bit more lenient here and just like let people like garbage stuff, especially if they're literally kids. So those are my Twilight hot takes. Yeah, I was one of those people who was like super obsessed with Twilight. And then I was like super obsessed with hating Twilight. As soon as I turned 12, I was like, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, and the fans are brainless, and it's all garbage. I wish I still had it. My best friend and I, when we were about 10, wrote a song about Edward Cullen because we were hardcore Team Edward. We wrote it and we recorded it and we burned it onto a CD. And I'm sure that I still have the file somewhere, but I don't know where I would even go about finding it. But if I ever do find it, the song was called Edward, very creatively. Let's see, I'm gonna search the word Edward in my files and see if I can. I don't think I have it, but maybe I will. I don't know. I don't think I do, but it would be really funny if I did. Oh, the lyrics were genius. Honestly, it's the best thing I've ever written. None of this stuff can ever compare. It's going to be chart topping pretty soon. I think maybe I sent it to someone over Skype. If I don't have it, I don't have it. But it was definitely an interesting song. I'm glad that everyone in the comments is now like sharing their experiences with liking Twilight as a child, because I feel like we all had a formative Twilight experience, whether it was loving it and then hating it, or just one or both, or hating it and then loving it. I want to know what team everyone was on, because I was very Team Edward. I mean, they were both, terrible for her, but I was hardcore Team Edward. Also, I was really, really into Alice as a character. I was like, oh, Alice is such an interesting character, but I can't put my finger on what about Alice was interesting to me. I just really want to be her best friend. And in retrospect, it's like, dude, you're super gay. Duh. But like, I'd like to thank Alice Cullen for being herself. Ooh, fun questions. I have several D&D questions, and I can't lie about my D&D stories because 2 of my D&D friends are mods in this chat. So Jacob Bank asks, I'm sorry for so many questions. Nothing big has been getting on my case for my lack of shame. What's your opinion on min-maxing and things like D&D? If you're not aware, that refers to mechanically maximizing how effective your character is while minimizing their weaknesses. So I yeah, you guys would call me out if I made stuff up. I wasn't going to anyway, but like if I exaggerated my stories, you guys would be right there calling me on it. So I mean, I feel like the thing about min-maxing is I don't like the idea in D&D that the game should solely be about winning, in the sense of like never losing a fight and like accomplishing all of your character's goals instantly. And I feel like, I don't think it's inherently bad to like want your character to be as strong as possible. I just feel like that's totally a normal thing when you're playing a role-playing game. But I don't like the mentality that lends itself to, where instead of being about like telling an interesting story narratively, it's just simply about like this nebulous idea of winning. I just find it like, I think it's more fun sometimes when you're the time I got turned into a bird without consent, and I'm still a bird. I'm still a fucking bird. But what do you mean memories? I'm still a bird. That was like one session ago. But yeah, I just find it more interesting when your character fails at stuff sometimes. And that's also what I don't like about fudging rolls. Sometimes it's more interesting when you mess up and you're like in a difficult situation and you have to be clever and find your way out of it, instead of like, oh, all of my rolls are suspiciously high. Oh, I'm not going to show you. Just take me at my word. Like, don't do that. It's interesting stuff. I'm going to come back next session, Sam. I'm sorry I was at a debate tournament this weekend. I'm going to bake stuff for you guys to apologize. I don't know what yet, but I will bake something for you guys. If you're a bird, that means you're a furry. I'm not a furry. Wouldn't I be like a wingy? Is that a thing? I know furries are a thing, and I know scalies are a thing. Are wingies a thing? I don't know if I really want to know the answer to that, but like some part of me does. Yeah, well, there's like a legitimate furry, because there's literally like a tabaxi cat person. Okay, featheries. Yeah, is it feathery? Is it wingy, feathery? I guess featheries are a thing. Cool, good to know. Next one is, what is your most memorable, I can't believe we pulled that off moment from your entire time playing D&D? I don't know about my entire time, because I have a horrible memory, but I can give you a fun example recently. So